Super Switch! Hello and welcome to Big Jim Gaming. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know it is no secret that I love my Nintendo Switch. I think it is the best Nintendo console ever, and the sales figures seem to agree with me. It has been out for around 5.5 years now, so there are signs of age. However, she's still got life left in her yet. But it is fun to speculate on what will be next. Given the success of the Switch, I think they would be bonkers to stray away from the hybrid formula which is working so well. I genuinely believe at the end of its life, this will be the best-selling console of all time, handheld and home consoles. So let's speculate. Let's talk about what's likely to be in the next model and what we'd like there. Whether that be a Switch 2, a Switch Pro, or a Super Switch. I like that. Sounds like a superhero. Super Switch! So let's start off with the two most obvious things. First of all, power! More power! Let's face it, there is no point bringing out a new console if it's not going to be more powerful. That is the whole reason you bring one out. It's got better graphical capabilities. It's got more running power. It can run more demanding games to give us the graphics, the experience that we all want. So that is a given. More power for the new generation of games. Also, and Nintendo's already proved me right with this, every iteration of the Switch has had an improved battery. I think we can safely expect that the next iteration will have a slightly improved battery again. If not, it should do, Nintendo. Now let's talk about the handheld screen. Now, as you can see, I've still got the LCD display one. I will get an OLED, but, you know, they're not free. And I'm really happy with this one. And I do use it a lot in dock mode anyway. The OLED screen has been a running success. It has improved over this LCD screen. So it's a safe bet that the OLED screen will stay. The question is, will it stay the same size? So they improved largely by just making the bezel thinner with the OLED Switch up to a 7-inch display. I would like to see in the next one a 7.5-inch or maybe even an 8-inch display. I don't want it to be so big that you can't carry it around and it stops being portable. But let's face it, it's not pocket-sized. So that extra 1/2 inch or inch could make things that bit more immersive, that bit more fun. Let's face it, when is an extra inch not beneficial? Yes, I know how that sounded. Next up, for me personally, I want to see more built-in memory. Now, the OLED has doubled the internal memory from 32 gigabytes to 64 gigabytes. That's nowhere near enough. It's just not. It's no good. It needs to be in the hundreds. Now, I accept that there will still be a port for a micro SD card, and that is the way forward to store your games. But I'd still like some more internal memory, just because it can add to my SD card. As games become more advanced, more demanding on your system, they're going to take up more memory. Therefore, the Switch needs to be able to handle it by giving us a little bit more of the internal good stuff. Next up, another obvious one really, no JoyCon Drift. Now, I'm going to hold my hands up. I've been lucky. I haven't experienced JoyCon Drift on either my Switch or my Switch Lite. Enough people have had it happen to them. And fair play to Nintendo, they repair it for free, but you've got to send your console off if it's a Lite, you've got to send your Joy-Cons off if it's the standard Switch. For the next iteration, the refresh or the whole new console of the Switch, come on, fix it. No JoyCon Drift. I'm sure that they're working on it already. It can't be that hard. Now, with regards to the shape, I want you guys to let me know what you want in the comments, because it's a real Marmite. I actually really like the current shape of the Switch. I think it lends itself with the rounded sides to being as portable as something of this size can be. And I actually don't have a problem just holding it in handheld mode. I can play it for a good few hours and I'm fairly comfortable. But I know a lot of people out there find it really uncomfortable. And I get that. I appreciate where you're coming from. And that's why you have to use things like switch grips. What do you want? Do you want them to change the shape, or maybe just the Joy-Con shape, to make it that little bit more comfortable in the hands? Or are you like me? You're quite happy with the current shape and you'll get a switch grip if needed. Now we get to a few if, buts, maybes, I would likes. First of all, backwards compatibility. Now, Nintendo has a fantastic history of backwards compatibility. The Game Boy Color played original Game Boy games. The Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color and original Game Boy games. The Nintendo DS, Game Boy Advance games on the original DS and the DS Lite. The 3DS and 2DS played original DS games. They have a really good history of giving us backwards compatibility. I want the new Switch to play original Switch games, and also I want some of my accessories to work as well. I have no problem buying a new case. Not an issue. I don't mind having to have a new dock because I assume it'll come with one. But certain other things I want to remain. Primarily for me, the Pro Controller. Because I'm telling you, if you do not have a Nintendo Pro Controller, you're missing out. It is the best controller I've ever used. It is the most comfortable in the hand. It's the most intuitive. The rumble is very, very good. The feedback is there. And the gyro aiming, when you're moving it around, perfect. I've used pretty much every controller out there that comes with a console. Obviously, there's loads of third-party ones. You'd never get through all of them. But all the standard ones, apart from the PlayStation 5 controller, because I can't get one. I've used all the others, and this is number one. They're going to launch a new Pro Controller. Of course they are. It will make them more money. And it may be very, very good, and chances are I'll get one at some point. But for now, when your new iteration comes out, let me keep using this. It's so good. Next thing Nintendo really needs to fix, because they dropped the ball with this one. When you play online, I want to talk to people through my headset, like I do on my PlayStation. That's it. I don't want to have to download an app. I don't want to have to get my smartphone involved. I just want to talk to people through my headset when I'm playing, like on my PlayStation, and like you can do on your Xbox as well. Nintendo, you dropped the ball with this one. It shouldn't be something that you can't do. Fix it. And my final wish is about this. It sucks. The Joy-Cons, very, very good. Not complaining about them at all. Perfectly happy with the Joy-Cons. Apart from the JoyCon Drift, possibility with me, thing experience with others. It's the shape of it. Let's go to the workbench and I'll show you the comparison with the Pro Controller. So here we are, just to show you the difference in comfort levels. So first of all, the side by side. You wouldn't think they're too different really, would you? But holding them is a different experience. So holding the Switch Pro Controller, first of all, even for my big hands, lovely and comfy. Nice and clicky, good, comfortable rests at the back. Something you can sit and hold comfortably for hours and hours. With this, first of all, it's closer together. Not a terrible thing, but it does mean that my thumbs are almost like having to back off a little bit. Also, on the back, because of the shape difference, I can't wrap my hands around it. So this here, I can wrap my hands around. Well, obviously I can't here because the Joy-Con's in the way. That makes a big difference to comfort after half an hour or so. The placement of the buttons is relatively similar. The clickiness on top, but again, so holding the clicks here, I can actually feel along my finger it's straining because it's not comfortable like that. Whereas if I keep it, or at least attempt to keep it in the same position, for the Pro Controller, it rests along here. I know this sounds like a very small thing, but it makes a humongous difference to the comfort of your controller. I would much rather hold this where my hand literally wraps around it and rests, including on the back, than this thing. I don't mind going out and buying a Pro controller. As I've already said, I want to carry on using my current one. It's the best controller I've ever used. But I like to keep this option as a spare. So if I'm playing a bit of Mario Kart with somebody or whatever, we've got two controllers. And being the polite host that I am, I'll always let them have the best controller, which means I'm stuck with this. And that gives you pain. It gives you cramp, it makes your fingers hurt. This is a recipe for arthritis if you've got large hands. And it doesn't need to be. I'm sure this bit of plastic could be made a little bit different with a slightly better shape to make it more comfortable. So they are my thoughts on what I think the next version of the Nintendo Switch is likely to have, with a couple of what I personally really want thrown in there just for good measure as well. I don't think I'm going to be a million miles away with this. At least I hope not. When, whether it be next year or the year after or the year after that, the new Switch iteration comes out, I'm going to do a comparison with this video. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what predictions came true, what didn't, and what surprises Nintendo has in store. Because let's face it, they like to break the molds, they don't like to follow the pack. That's why we love them. What do you think? What would you like to see from the next Nintendo Switch? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Love to hear from you all. Really interested to get your thoughts there. As always, watch this space. I've got plenty more coming, so I'll see you in the next one.